Hello everyone, and welcome to part 3 of Jurassic Park characters sorted into Hogwarts houses. Today, I'll be sorting the characters featured in Jurassic Park 3, so let's get started. I already talked about Alan Grant and Ellie Sattler in part 1, so we're going to start off part 3 by talking about the new characters introduced in Jurassic Park 3. First off is Billy Brennan. Much like his mentor Alan Grant, Billy was very passionate and knowledgeable about the field of paleontology. He had great curiosity and an endless desire to learn, and we can see this when he and Grant are identifying the Spinosaurus footprint. With such a broad and ready mind, he sounds like he'd be a suitable fit for Ravenclaw, right? Sure, but there are two other things to consider first, and they go hand in hand with each other. The first thing is Grant's theory about the two different kinds of boys, astronomers and astronauts. In a nutshell, astronomers study in a sheltered place of safety like a laboratory or a university, while the astronauts study in the field, in person. In Grant's case, even though he was more portrayed in the movies as a heroic man of action, I still feel as though he was more of an astronomer than an astronaut, as it relates to his theory. Billy was the exact opposite. He was the kind of person who wanted to be a part of the action, the adventure, and the world of dinosaurs. Which leads me to the second thing to consider. Billy risked his life by saving Eric from a flock of pteranodons, and he was willing to sacrifice himself to let Eric and the others escape the aviary. His adventurous nature and his selfless heart undoubtedly make him a one-of-a-kind Gryffindor. Now we come to Eric Kirby, a rather interesting case because I think he represents both sides of the same coin. On one side of the coin, you have a strong will, unyielding bravery, and undying determination. Even though his chances of rescue seemed hopeless and there was danger around every corner, Eric never gave up and he kept a strong mind. He wouldn't be able to face the dangers of Isla Sorna if he lost his focus or his will to live. Now on the other side of the coin, you have continual resourcefulness and vast creativity. He created a poncho of leaves to camouflage himself in the jungle. He established a shelter in the water truck, and he even used nature to his advantage, such as using the T-Rex pea to scare away smaller predators. So naturally, this comes down to Gryffindor and Slytherin. Again, two sides of the same coin. It's almost like sorting Harry Potter himself, because he also had traits that both Gryffindors and Slytherins possess. This is a hard choice, because I believe that either one of these houses would fit Eric perfectly, but I can only pick one, and to make that choice, I think it all comes down to one specific trait that Eric displayed best: self-preservation. One word comes to mind when I think of Eric Kirby, and that word is survivor. Self-preservation is a very keen trait that Slytherins are well known for displaying, and Eric exemplified it unlike any other character in the movie, so Slytherin for Eric it is. Now we come to Paul Kirby, undoubtedly a very crafty and deceitful man. Even though Grant was suspicious of him, Paul kept his confidence. He always had an answer for everything. He played the act of a cool, collected con man very well. And yes, being sneaky and deceptive are the stereotypical traits that are associated with Slytherins, and yes, he fits the bill very well. But that's not the only reason why I'm choosing Slytherin. There's more to it than that. Much more. Paul also displayed a tremendous amount of bravery when he climbed up the crane to distract the Spinosaurus, allowing Amanda to escape. Of course, courage is associated with Gryffindors mostly, but a common thing that people sometimes forget is that Slytherins can be brave too. Take Snape, for instance. Harry Potter himself said that Snape was the bravest man he's ever known. Paul was cunning, courageous, and most of all, passionate. Slytherins are also very passionate, and Paul was undoubtedly a loving father who was willing to do whatever it took to rescue his son. A good example of a model Slytherin. Next, we come to Amanda Kirby. She wasn't so easy to sort, because out of all the Kirbys, I feel that her character was the least developed. Some could argue that she was crafty and deceitful, just like Paul Kirby, because she was also part of the plan to bring Alan Grant to Isla Sorna. However, I feel that Amanda was more or less there for support, while Paul did most of the talking and made most of the arrangements. With that said, she still agreed to go along with the plan. Amanda and Paul may have been divorced, but they were both willing to put their marital issues aside to find their son. Speaking of marital issues, I think we can find out a bit more about her here. Paul and Amanda divorced because they were always arguing and never being able to agree on anything. With arguing comes stubbornness, and stubbornness is one of the traits associated with Gryffindors, as well as the desire to stand firm for what they believe in. And we see plenty of stubbornness from Amanda in the movie, especially when Paul insists they use Grant's advice while she decides against it. And one last thing, it's no secret that she screamed a lot during the movie. I mean a lot. But as the movie progressed, she didn't scream as much as before. I guess she went from a 10 to a 9, so maybe she found some courage deep inside of her? I mean, she did give the raptors their eggs back instead of running away and screaming, so I guess I can give her the credit she deserves, and sort her into Gryffindor. Now on to Udsky, Cooper, and Nash. Yeah, I'm gonna cheat a bit and cut some corners here and bunch these three together, because essentially, they're all the same type of character, and they're not in the movie for very long, both individually or collectively, so there really isn't much to talk about. So rather than say the same thing about each character 3 times, I'll do my best and discuss what they have in common with each other. It seems that all 3 of them have significant experience in using military equipment, and with them being mercenaries, likely use that equipment for military or combat-based missions. I personally know some people that have worked in military careers, and I've learned that having a career in the military requires tremendous courage and focus. To some degree, each of these 3 displayed these traits, although very brief, since, again, they're not in the movie for very long. Cooper tried to shoot the Spinosaurus, Nash tried to fly everyone off the island, and in a deleted scene from Jurassic Park 3, Udsky tried to fend off a velociraptor with a tree branch. They all get an A for effort, I guess, so Gryffindor for all 3 of them. And lastly, we come to Ben Hildebrand. He may have been a minor character, and he didn't have much screen time, but we were able to see that he was quite the adventurous type, as he enjoyed parasailing. And we also got to see that he was a bit reckless too, because he didn't seem to care that Isla Sorna was restricted, because he went there anyway. But I think the biggest thing we can take from Ben is that he cared for Eric and wanted to protect him, as though he was his own son. For these reasons, I choose Gryffindor for Ben. And that's a wrap for Jurassic Park characters sorted in Hogwarts Houses Part 3. Stay tuned for Part 4, where I sort the characters featured in Jurassic World. Did you agree with my choices or disagree? What are your thoughts? Talk about them in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more Jurassic Park/World content, check out my channel. See you next time.